Amina was a 22-year-old woman with a pure heart. She was known for her kindness, her wisdom, and her deep connection to her faith. Since their father passed away years ago, she had taken on the responsibility of helping her mother support the family. She was not only a daughter, but also a strong pillar for her mother and younger sister, Rafatu. Rafatu, at 16, was a vibrant, adventurous girl. She loved to have fun, and while she adored her older sister, she was very different from her. Unlike Amina, who kept to herself and focused on her studies and spirituality, Rafatu craved excitement. She was often out with friends, meeting new people, and enjoying the attention of different boys. Though her mother and Amina worried about her choices, Rafatu dismissed their concerns, feeling that they simply didn't understand her. One day, Rafatu met a boy who was different from all the others. His name was Malik. Handsome and charming, Malik quickly captured Rafatu's heart. She believed he was the one, and her feelings for him grew stronger with each passing day. She no longer saw other boys and spent every possible moment with Malik. Amina noticed the change in her sister and worried, sensing that Rafatu was falling too fast and too deeply. "Rafatu," Amina said one evening, "I know you like Malik, but remember to take things slowly. Don't let your heart lead you somewhere that will hurt you." But Rafatu brushed off her sister's advice. She was certain Malik loved her, and nothing anyone said could make her doubt him. For a few months, she lived in a dream, happier than she had ever been. Then one day, out of nowhere, Malik ended the relationship. "I'm sorry, Rafatu," he said, looking away, "but I can't be with you anymore." His words felt like a knife to her heart. She couldn't understand what went wrong. She begged him to explain, to give her a reason, but Malik remained silent and walked away, leaving her shattered and alone. The heartbreak was too much for Rafatu. She stopped eating, she couldn't sleep, and every day she felt more and more empty. In her pain, she felt like there was nothing left to live for. In a moment of despair, she swallowed a bottle of poison, hoping to escape the heartbreak forever. Thankfully, Amina found her just in time. She rushed Rafatu to the hospital, her heart pounding with fear. Their mother was in tears, praying desperately for Rafatu's life. Hours passed, and finally the doctor emerged with news. "She's alive," he said, and a wave of relief washed over Amina and her mother. The doctor took a deep breath and looked at Amina and her mother with a grave expression. "Rafatu's condition is critical," he said gently. "She needs an urgent kidney transplant as soon as possible. We don't have much time and—" He paused as if trying to choose his words carefully. "The transplant procedure will require a substantial amount of money. Without it, I'm afraid her chances of survival are very slim." Amina felt her heart sink. She could see the worry in her mother's eyes, and a wave of helplessness washed over her. They were a modest family, barely making ends meet. And this was a sum they simply didn't have. But Amina was determined not to give up. She turned to the doctor, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "How much time do we have, doctor? And what exactly do we need to do?" The doctor glanced at his watch, thinking. "We have a few days, maybe a week at most, to find a donor and arrange the surgery. I will provide the detailed costs and any support contacts we have, but you should begin raising the money immediately." After the doctor left, Amina and her mother sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the situation pressing down on them. Amina's mother finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "How are we going to do this, Amina? Where will we find such an amount?" Amina took her mother's hand and said with quiet determination, "Mama, I don't know yet. But we'll do whatever it takes. I can't let Rafatu go. I will find a way." And with that, Amina's mind started racing with ideas. She would need to reach out to everyone she knew, gather support, and find a way to save her sister's life. As Amina sat in the hospital hallway, her mind was swirling with thoughts of how to save Rafatu. She couldn't bear to lose her sister. Suddenly, she remembered her best friend, Tiwa. Tiwa was always resourceful and seemed to know everyone. If anyone could help her find a way to get the money, it was Tiwa. Without wasting a second, Amina rushed out of the hospital and made her way to Tiwa's small apartment on the other side of town. She knocked on the door, her heart pounding as she waited. When Tiwa opened the door, she saw the worry etched on Amina's face and immediately invited her in. "Amina, what's wrong?" Tiwa asked, concern filling her voice. Amina took a deep breath and explained everything. The heartbreak Rafatu went through, the poison she had taken, and the doctor's words about the urgent transplant that would save her life. "Tiwa, we need a lot of money and we need it fast," Amina said, her voice trembling. "I thought maybe you could lend us the money. Just for a while until we can pay them back." Tiwa looked at Amina with a sad expression and shook her head. "Amina, where do you expect me to find that kind of money? I'm just a struggling student, trying to get by. I don't have enough to help you with something this big." Amina's shoulders slumped in disappointment. She was running out of options. But then Tiwa's face brightened and she spoke slowly. "Wait, I do know someone who might be able to help." Amina's eyes widened. "Who? Who can lend us the money?" Tiwa hesitated for a moment before speaking. "His name is Chief Ibrahim. He's one of the richest men in town. I'm sure he could lend you the money you need." Amina's heart sank at the mention of Chief Ibrahim. She knew him and she had always avoided him. He was wealthy, but also known to be controlling and difficult. Amina never trusted him and didn't want to ask for his help. "No," Amina said quickly, shaking her head. "I don't want to ask him. I don't trust him." Tiwa's expression grew serious. "Amina, I understand how you feel, but think about your sister. If you don't do something fast, she might not survive. You have to try. If you refuse, then you'll have to live with the consequences." Amina felt her heart heavy with fear and sadness. She didn't want to lose Rafatu. With no other choice, Amina took a deep breath and said, "Okay, Tiwa. If Chief Ibrahim is the only one who can help, I will go to him. I will do anything to save my sister." Tiwa nodded, giving Amina a comforting smile. "You're doing the right thing. Just be careful, Amina. Chief Ibrahim can be tricky." Amina left Tiwa's apartment, her mind spinning. She was about to ask a man she had always feared for help, but for Rafatu she would do whatever it took. Amina arrived at Chief Ibrahim's large house, feeling nervous and uncertain. The place was grand, with tall gates and expensive-looking cars parked outside. She stood at the entrance for a moment, trying to gather her courage before ringing the bell. When the door opened, Chief Ibrahim greeted her with a sly smile. "Ah, Amina, I've been expecting you," he said, his voice smooth but cold. Amina stepped inside, her heart racing. She took a deep breath and explained everything. How Rafatu was in critical condition, how they needed money urgently for the transplant, and how Tiwa had suggested she come to him for help. "I need the money to save my sister," Amina said, her voice filled with hope and desperation. "Please, Chief Ibrahim, you're the only one who can help us. You are our last hope." The chief listened carefully, nodding slowly. He said after a moment. "I see. I will help you, but there is a price. You see, Amina, you are a very beautiful young woman, and I like young girls like you." His eyes traveled over her body, making her feel uncomfortable. Amina's stomach twisted with disgust, but she kept her voice steady. "What do you mean, sir?" she asked, trying not to show how scared she was. Chief Ibrahim leaned forward in his chair, his tone more serious now. "You will marry me," he said, his words thick with greed. "You're young, beautiful, and I want you. If you agree to marry me, I will give you double the money you need for the transplant." Amina's face turned pale, and she shook her head quickly. "No, I can't marry you. I'm only here to ask for help for my sister, nothing more." The chief's smile faded, and he stood up from his chair, his expression hardening. "Then you will have to do something else for me. You are a beautiful woman, Amina. I like them young, and I can give you the money if you sleep with me. What do you say?" Amina felt like the world had stopped spinning. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "I've never known any man," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I've saved myself for marriage. Please, I beg you, don't ask me to do this." Chief Ibrahim's face softened, but it wasn't out of kindness. "That's nice," he said with a grin. "You're pure, I like that. In fact, I will give you triple of the amount you need for the transplant, just for you." He stepped closer, his voice low and persuasive. "Think of your sister, my darling, innocent little girl. She needs this. You don't have a choice." Amina stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked down at the floor, her mind racing. Rafatu's face flashed before her eyes, pale, weak, struggling for life. Could she really save her sister? Was she willing to do anything, even something that made her feel so sick inside? Her thoughts were filled with guilt, but the words of Chief Ibrahim echoed in her mind. Your sister will die if you don't do this. She couldn't bear the thought of losing Rafatu. Amina took a deep breath, feeling like she was drowning in her own choices. Okay, she said, I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes to save my sister. Chief Ibrahim's grin grew wider. Good, you're making the right choice. Later, when everything was over, Amina stood in front of Chief Ibrahim, tears welling in her eyes. She had done what she felt she had to do to save her sister, but it didn't feel right. She felt empty, broken, as though a part of her soul had been taken away. Amina wiped her tears away, her voice shaking as she spoke. Please, Chief Ibrahim, I've done what you asked. Now can I have the money? My sister's life depends on it. The chief's smile disappeared. He looked at her coldly. No money for you, he said, his tone harsh. You should have thought about that before. Now you get nothing. Goodbye. Amina stood frozen, shock and anger flooding through her. What do you mean? You promised me the money. The chief turned away, his voice casual. I don't keep promises to people like you. You've given me what I wanted. Now leave. Amina felt a wave of rage and betrayal. Her chest tightened, and for a moment she couldn't speak. She had trusted him, done something she thought was the only way to save her sister, and now she was empty-handed. How could you do this to me? She shouted, her voice shaking with anger. You promised me the money, and now you're treating me like this? Chief Ibrahim turned around slowly, his eyes cold and calculating. You still don't understand, do you? He said, his voice almost mocking. If you want the money, you'll have to do more than what you've already done. In fact, if you want what you're asking for, you'll have to sleep with my pet snake. Amina stood frozen in shock. She had heard rumors about the chief's cruelty and wickedness, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. You're sick, she screamed. How dare you even suggest that to me? Her fists clenched, her body trembling with rage. You think I'll just keep doing what you want? You think you can control me like this? Well, you're wrong. She took a step back, ready to leave, to walk out of his twisted house and never return. But as she turned to leave, her thoughts suddenly raced to Rafatu, her sister. The doctor's warning about how little time they had left. Only a few days, he had said. The transplant had to happen soon, or Rafatu would die. Amina's heart twisted with guilt and fear. Her sister's face flashed in her mind, so pale, so weak, hooked up to machines, struggling to hold on to life. Amina's chest tightened. She couldn't lose her. She had to do something, anything. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She didn't want to stoop to Chief Ibrahim's level, didn't want to give in to his sick demands. But what choice did she have? Rafatu's life depended on it. Tears welled up in Amina's eyes as she turned back to face Chief Ibrahim. She wiped her eyes, swallowing the pain, and spoke with a voice barely above a whisper. Okay, I will do it. I will sleep with your snake. Just give me the money I need to save my sister. Chief Ibrahim's grin returned, his eyes glittering with triumph. Now you're talking, he said, his voice thick with satisfaction. You're finally being reasonable. You'll get what you want, but only if you do exactly what I say. Amina felt sick to her stomach. The words tasted like poison in her mouth, but she didn't have any other choice. Her sister's life hung in the balance, and this man was the only one who could help her. As the hours passed, and the dark deal was done, Amina stood in a haze, her heart heavy with shame, anger, and a deep sense of defeat. She had given up something precious, something that she had never wanted to lose, and all for her sister. When it was finally over, Amina stood in front of Chief Ibrahim, trembling, both physically and emotionally. Please, where's the money? She asked, her voice low and desperate. Chief Ibrahim sat back in his chair, watching her with an unsettling smile. You think you deserve the money now? He said, his voice filled with mockery. Well, I changed my mind. Amina's heart stopped. What? She whispered in disbelief. Number you promised. You said I would get the money. Please, I did what you wanted. Give me the money. He leaned back in his chair, his face cold. I don't keep promises with people like you, he said, his words like a slap to her face. You should have known better than to trust someone like me." Amina's hands clenched into fists, her anger rising again. "You liar," she shouted. "You promised me. You're nothing but a monster." Chief Ibrahim's cold laughter echoed in the room as he waved her off. "You've learned your lesson, haven't you? Now leave, go back to your sister and watch her die. It's not my problem anymore." Amina stood there, her heart breaking, her body shaking with a mixture of rage and despair. She had done what she thought was necessary. She had sold her dignity, her pride, and her soul to save Rafatu. But now she had nothing, no money, no hope, no way to help her sister. But then a thought struck her. Something deep inside Amina snapped. This wasn't over yet. She would not let Chief Ibrahim win. She would find a way to save her sister, no matter what it took. With fire in her eyes, Amina turned and walked out of Chief Ibrahim's house, her mind racing. She had been broken, but she was not defeated. Amina rushed home, her mind racing with the weight of everything she had been through. Her hands trembled as she walked into the small house that she and her sister had shared with their mother. It was the only place left that connected them to their father, the only thing they had left after his death. Amina walked into her father's room, where his old belongings were still scattered around, and carefully took the house documents from the drawer. It felt wrong, holding the paper that symbolized everything they had. But Rafatu's life was on the line, and Amina had nothing else to offer. She needed money, desperately. Amina rushed next door to their neighbor, Mrs. Adebayo, hoping for some kind of miracle. "Please," Amina said, her voice shaky, "can you help me find someone who will lend me money? I will use our house as collateral. It's all we have left." Mrs. Adebayo looked at Amina, her face full of sympathy. She made a few calls to some of her friends, asking if they could help. After a long silence, Mrs. Adebayo hung up the phone and shook her head. "I'm so sorry, Amina. No one can help. They say the house isn't worth enough to cover such a huge amount of money. They just won't give you that much." Amina felt as though her world was crashing down. She had nowhere to turn. The house, the one thing left of her father, couldn't even save her sister. She could feel her eyes welling up with tears. "My sister, she's going to die if I don't find the money," she whispered, almost to herself. Mrs. Adebayo patted her shoulder. "I know, Amina, I know. But sometimes things don't go the way we hope. You've done everything you can." But to Amina, it wasn't enough. Her sister's life was slipping away, and she couldn't stop it. Feeling defeated, Amina ran to Tiwa's house, not wanting to think about what she had already done. She couldn't tell Tiwa the truth about Chief Ibrahim. She couldn't face her friend after what had happened. Tiwa welcomed her inside, her face brightening at the sight of Amina, though it quickly faded when she saw the tears in Amina's eyes. "Amina, what's wrong? How did it go?" Tiwa asked, her voice filled with concern. Amina wiped her eyes quickly, trying to hide the pain. "Forget about it, Tiwa. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I just need your help." Tiwa raised an eyebrow. "What happened? You look like you've been through so much. Did you go to Chief Ibrahim? Did he give you the money?" Amina quickly turned away. "Please, don't ask. It's not why I'm here. I need to borrow money, but I have tried everything, and no one is willing to help. I don't know what else to do." Tiwa frowned, looking deeply at Amina. "Amina, I know how hard this is for you, but if no one else is willing to help, maybe you should go to Chief Ibrahim again. He might be able to help you." Amina's heart sank at the suggestion. "No," she said, shaking her head firmly. I can't do that. I won't. I will find another way. I will figure it out." Tiwa didn't press her further, but the worry in her eyes was clear. "I just want you to know that I'm here for you, Amina. I can't imagine what you're going through. I hope you find a way." Amina nodded weakly and left Tiwa's house, feeling like she was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. She walked to the hospital, her thoughts heavy with the knowledge that Rafatu only had a few days left to live. The doctor's words echoed in her mind. If we don't act soon, she won't make it. When Amina reached the hospital, she found the doctor in his office, looking over some papers. "Doctor," Amina said, "please, you have to help me. I don't have much time. I have tried everything, but no one is willing to help." The doctor looked up at Amina, his expression soft but filled with sympathy. "Amina, I understand your pain. But the truth is, if we don't get the transplant done immediately, your sister's chances of survival are very slim. The longer you wait, the worse her condition will get." Amina felt like she was drowning. She couldn't lose her sister. She would do anything. "Please, doctor," she said, her voice breaking, "I have some documents. Our house. Maybe it can be sold to pay for the transplant. Please, I will do anything." The doctor took the papers from her and looked them over carefully, but then his face fell. "I'm sorry, Amina. This house is too old. Even if you sold it, it wouldn't bring in enough money to cover the transplant or the medication your sister needs. I know this is hard, but you have to face the truth." Amina felt her knees weaken. Her heart shattered as she fell to the chair next to her mother, who was sitting in the corner of the room, crying softly. "What are we going to do?" Amina whispered, her voice filled with hopelessness. Her mother held Amina's hand tightly. "I don't know, my daughter. I don't know. But we can't give up. We can't let her go." Amina could feel the weight of the world pressing down on her chest. She had tried everything. She had given up her dignity, her pride, and now even her father's house wasn't enough. She felt like she was losing everything, but most of all, she felt like she was losing Rafatu. And it hurt more than anything. With a heavy heart and nowhere else to turn, Amina walked back to Chief Ibrahim's house. Her feet felt like they were carrying stones, and every step reminded her of the pain and humiliation she had already faced. But she had no other choice. Her sister's life depended on it. As she entered Chief Ibrahim's grand, luxurious home, she took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. When Chief Ibrahim saw her, he gave her a sly smile, his eyes shining with mockery. "Ah, Amina," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Back so soon? I thought you were done with me." Amina swallowed her pride, holding out the house documents with trembling hands. "I have no other option," she said. "This is our family's house. It's all we have. Please, take it as a guarantee for the money. Just let me save my sister." Chief Ibrahim took the papers and glanced at them. "This house?" He laughed, mocking her. "This house couldn't even buy one of my car tires. And you think it's enough to cover the cost of your sister's surgery? How foolish can you be, Amina?" Amina's face burned with shame, but she held back her tears. "Please, Chief Ibrahim," she said in a small voice, feeling like she had nothing left. "I need the money. I'll do anything. My sister's life depends on it." Chief Ibrahim leaned back in his chair, giving her a cold, satisfied smile. "Anything you say?" he asked slowly, making her wait. Then he nodded, pretending to think. "All right. But only if you do exactly what I want." Amina felt a chill run down her spine. She was terrified of what he might ask. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Chief Ibrahim's smile grew. "Sleep with my pet snake," he said again. "That's the deal, and I'll keep the house documents too. If you do that, then maybe I'll help you." Amina's heart sank. The idea of being near a snake, let alone sleeping beside it, filled her with horror. But she thought of Rafatu in the hospital, weak and barely holding on. She couldn't let her sister die. With no other choice, she took a shaky breath. "Fine, I will do it." Chief Ibrahim grinned, pleased that he had finally broken her spirit. He called his servants, who led Amina into a dark room. In the corner, there was a large glass case with a huge coiled snake inside. The servants left, locking her inside with the creature. Amina lay beside the snake, feeling her whole body tense up with fear. She closed her eyes, telling herself it would soon be over, that this was for Rafatu. She forced herself to stay calm, thinking only of her sister. When it was done, she returned to Chief Ibrahim, drained and exhausted. "I did what you asked. Can I have the money now?" Chief Ibrahim threw the money onto the table. "There you go. Take it," he said, not even looking at her. Then, with a sneer, he added, "You're pathetic, Amina. All this for a little bit of money." Amina grabbed the money and left quickly, not looking back. Her heart was pounding, her head spinning, but she had what she needed to save her sister. She rushed to the hospital, praying it wasn't too late. At the hospital, she handed the money to the doctor. "Please," she said, "do the surgery and save my sister." The doctor nodded and assured her they would start immediately. Amina waited outside the operating room, pacing up and down, praying for good news. Hours passed, and she was exhausted from worry. Finally, the doctor came out with a gentle smile. "The surgery went well, Amina," he said. "Your sister will be okay. She just needs time to recover." Amina felt a huge weight lift from her heart. She hurried to Rafatu's room, where her sister lay sleeping peacefully. Amina looked at her sister lying there, safe and alive, and felt a mixture of relief and sadness. She was grateful that Rafatu would be okay, but the price she had paid weighed heavily on her heart. She didn't want her sister to ever know what she had gone through to save her. Days passed, and Rafatu slowly recovered her strength. The doctors were pleased with her progress and said she could go home soon. Amina stayed by her side every day, bringing her food and keeping her company, trying to help her forget the difficult times they had just been through. They returned home a few days later, and their mother greeted them with open arms, tears of joy in her eyes. They hugged each other, thankful to finally be together again. A few weeks after Rafatu's recovery, Malik, her ex-boyfriend, showed up at their home. He apologized, saying he was sorry for breaking her heart. He handed her some money, promising he would never hurt her again. Rafatu, seeing his charming smile and hearing his sweet words, forgot all the pain he had caused her. She convinced herself that maybe he had changed. When Rafatu told Amina she had decided to get back together with Malik, Amina felt a surge of anger. "Rafatu, are you serious?" Amina said, her voice tight with frustration. "This is the boy who nearly ruined your life. You almost lost everything because of him." Rafatu crossed her arms, annoyed. "Why are you making a big deal out of this? I love Malik and he loves me. You don't understand." Amina took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Rafatu, you're only 16. You should be focused on your studies, not on boys. Malik isn't good for you." Rafatu glared at her sister. "What do you know, Amina? What have you ever done for me? You're always acting like you're better than me." Amina felt her heart sink. "Do you even know the sacrifice I made to save you? Do you have any idea what I went through?" Rafatu rolled her eyes. "Sacrifice? You just used father's old house as collateral, didn't you? It's not like you did something so amazing." Amina's face turned pale. She couldn't believe Rafatu's words. All the pain, fear, and humiliation she had endured came rushing back to her, but Rafatu continued, her voice cold. "Anyway, Malik's family is rich. His father has plenty of money, so why would I leave him just because you and Mom don't like him?" Amina's fists clenched as she struggled to hold back her anger and sadness. "Rafatu, you don't understand what I did to save you. And if you go back to Malik, you might end up hurt again. He's not someone you can trust." But Rafatu shook her head stubbornly. "You're just jealous, Amina. You don't know what it's like to have someone care about you. Malik makes me feel special." Amina felt helpless as Rafatu stormed off, her mind made up. She could see her sister walking down a dangerous path, but no amount of pleading seemed to change Rafatu's mind. 6 months had passed since the day Amina had made that terrible deal with Chief Ibrahim to save Rafatu's life. The money Amina borrowed from him was never fully repaid, and since she refused to return to do his bidding, Chief Ibrahim was furious. One morning, he arrived at their home with a group of men. He shouted at Amina and her mother, waving the house documents in his hand. "You couldn't pay back the money, and you refused to follow my rules. So this house is mine now. Leave, or I'll have you thrown out myself." Amina and her mother pleaded with him. "Please, Chief Ibrahim," Amina's mother begged, tears streaming down her face. "This house is all we have left. It's the only memory of my husband. Where will we go?" But Chief Ibrahim was unmoved. With a wave of his hand, his men began tossing their few belongings out of the house, leaving no room for argument. They were left with nothing, standing helplessly as they watched the only place they had ever called home slip away. With nowhere else to go, Amina, her mother, and Rafatu had no choice but to find shelter in an old, unfinished building nearby. The walls were rough and the floors were cold. They had no doors, no real protection from the wind and rain. Life became even harder than before. Each day, Amina and her mother struggled to find enough food, hoping to get by with the little they could earn from odd jobs and small favor. Rafatu found it harder to cope with the poor conditions. Whenever she saw there was no food at home, she would run off to Malik's house where she could eat and stay warm. Malik's family had money, and Rafatu didn't mind spending time there, even though Malik wasn't always kind to her. She knew that back in the unfinished building, her mother and Amina were barely able to scrape together enough food, so she avoided being around them as much as she could. She thought it was better to stay away rather than face the hunger and struggle her family was going through. One evening, Rafatu came home looking different. Her face was bruised, and her left eye was swollen and dark. She tried to slip in quietly, hoping her mother and Amina wouldn't notice. But her mother spotted the bruise right away and gasped, rushing to her side. "Rafatu!" her mother cried. "What happened to you? Who did this?" Rafatu lowered her eyes, trying to avoid her mother's gaze. "It's nothing, Mama," she mumbled. I was in a small accident with a motorbike. It's not a big deal." But her mother wasn't convinced. She could tell something wasn't right. "A motorbike accident?" she repeated, looking at Rafatu closely. "Why are you hiding your face then? And why didn't you tell me about it sooner?" Rafatu hesitated, shifting uncomfortably. She couldn't hold the lie any longer. With a deep sigh, she finally admitted the truth. "All right. It wasn't a motorbike," she said softly. It was Malik. We got into an argument and he hit me. He didn't mean it, Mama. It was a mistake." Her mother's face turned pale with shock and anger. "Malik? That boy hit you? How could he? And how could you hide this from me?" Rafatu quickly defended him. "Mama, it was an accident. He said he didn't mean to, that he just got angry. He's really sorry and he promised it won't happen again." Amina, who had been quietly listening from the corner, couldn't stay silent any longer. She stepped forward, looking at her sister with concern. "Rafatu, you don't deserve to be treated like this," she said gently. "If he's hitting you now, what makes you think it won't happen again?" But Rafatu shook her head stubbornly. "You don't understand. He loves me, and he promised it won't happen again. He already apologized." Her mother took a deep breath. "Rafatu, listen to me. Someone who truly loves you would never raise a hand to hurt you. You are too young to be dealing with this. You should be focusing on your studies, not trying to fix someone who doesn't respect you." But Rafatu refused to listen. Over the next few days, she grew quieter, ignoring her mother and Amina's warnings. When Malik came around again, he was full of apologies and sweet words. He brought Rafatu a small gift and promised he would never hurt her again. Rafatu, wanting to believe in him, forgave him, letting herself get drawn back in by his promises. Amina and her mother watched with heavy hearts, hoping that Rafatu would soon realize the truth. They worried every day, knowing that their warnings had gone unheard. But all they could do was stand by, praying that Rafatu would one day understand her own worth and learn to walk away from someone who didn't truly care for her. Amina hadn't heard from her best friend, Tiwa, in a long time. Worried, she decided to visit her. As she approached Tiwa's small room, she felt her heart pounding, hoping everything was okay. But nothing could have prepared her for what she saw. There, lying weakly on a thin mattress, was Tiwa. Her face was pale, her body thin and frail, with eyes that looked tired and hollow. Amina's heart broke at the sight. "Tiwa, what's happened to you?" she whispered, kneeling beside her friend, tears already forming in her eyes. Tiwa looked at her with a sad smile. She struggled to sit up, but Amina gently helped her. "I'm so sorry I didn't tell you, Amina," Tiwa said, her voice weak. "I didn't want anyone to know, but I can't hide it anymore." Amina held her friend's hand tightly, her mind racing with questions. "Tiwa, what's wrong? Why are you so sick?" she asked, her voice trembling. Tiwa took a deep breath, then said, "Amina, I found out too late. I'm HIV positive, and it's already too bad. The doctors said I don't have much time left." Amina felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. She covered her mouth in shock, unable to believe what she was hearing. "No, oh no, Tiwa, this can't be happening. Jesus, no." Tiwa tried to calm her. "Amina, please don't cry. It's my reality now. I made mistakes that I have to pay for." Still trembling, Amina wiped her tears. "But how? How did this happen, Tiwa?" Tiwa looked down, ashamed. "Chief Ibrahim," she whispered. "He's the one who has been giving me money, paying my school fees, and helping me live this life. But in return, he made me do terrible things. I had to sleep with him, and he made me sleep with his pet snake." Amina gasped, her heart sinking even further. She thought back to the terrible deal she herself had made with Chief Ibrahim, and she felt sick inside. "I never knew Amina," Tiwa continued. Amina gasped, her heart sinking even further. She thought back to the terrible deal she herself had made with Chief Ibrahim, and she felt sick inside. Tiwa continued, "I thought I was being smart, living the life, getting everything I wanted. But now I realized the cost was too high. I didn't find out until it was too late." Tears rolled down Amina's face. "Oh, Tiwa, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you let me help you?" Tiwa smiled sadly. "I didn't want you to see me like this. I thought I could handle it myself. But now there's no more time. The doctor says I only have a few months left." Amina cried harder, the guilt tearing at her heart. She remembered how she had also agreed to Chief Ibrahim's demands, how she had done the very things Tiwa was now describing. But when Tiwa looked at her with concern, Amina forced herself to keep quiet. She didn't want to add to Tiwa's pain. "Why are you crying so much, Amina?" Tiwa asked gently. "I told you, don't feel sorry for me. I made my choices." Amina quickly wiped her tears, forcing a smile. "I'm just sad for you, Tiwa. You're my best friend. I wish I could do something to help." Tiwa nodded, believing her friend's words. "I know, Amina, but promise me one thing. Never go down the same path I did. Chief Ibrahim might seem generous, but he's dangerous. Promise me you'll stay far away from him." Amina forced a nod, trying to hide the truth. "I promise, Tiwa. I won't make the same mistake." Tiwa managed a weak smile, reaching out to hold Amina's hand. They sat together in silence for a while, just holding on to each other, sharing the pain that words couldn't describe. When Amina finally left Tiwa's house, she could barely hold herself together. She walked home in a daze, her mind spinning with guilt and regret. As soon as she reached the empty, unfinished building she now called home, she fell to her knees and cried, burying her face in her hands. Her sobs filled the quiet space, her heart breaking into pieces. She thought of the sacrifice she'd made, the things she had done to save Rafatu, and the terrible price Tiwa was now paying. She wondered if she too would face the same fate. As Amina sat on the cold, dusty floor of the unfinished building, her sobs grew louder, echoing in the empty space. She was too lost in her pain to notice her mother enter. When her mother heard her crying, she rushed over, kneeling beside her. "Amina, my child, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" Through her sobs, Amina poured out everything she had kept hidden, every painful detail of what she had done to save Rafatu's life. She spoke of Chief Ibrahim, of the terrible things she endured, and of the deep shame she felt. As her story unfolded, her mother's expression turned from confusion to horror, then finally to heartbreak. When Amina finished, her mother was silent for a moment, struggling to hold back her own tears. Then, shaking her head, she said, "Oh, Amina, my dear child, if only you had told me. I would never have let you agree to that evil man's demands." Amina, her voice filled with regret, said, "I didn't know what else to do, Mama. Rafatu was dying, and no one would help us. I thought I had no choice." Her mother held her tightly. "You are my child, Amina. We could have found another way. We could have faced this together. You should never have had to face this alone." Amina took a deep, shaky breath, wiping her tears before looking into her mother's eyes. "Mama, there's something else. I didn't want to tell you, but I can't hide it anymore." She hesitated, feeling a lump in her throat. "Mama, I think I might be HIV positive." Her mother's eyes widened in shock. "What? Amina, why would you think such a thing? Did a doctor tell you this?" Amina shook her head. "No, Mama. But Tiwa, my friend, she's very sick. She told me she has HIV, and it's really bad now. She told me it's because of Chief Ibrahim. She also did what I did, Mama. She slept with him and his pet snake. And now she's paying the price." Her mother gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. She reached out and gripped Amina's arm. "Oh, my poor child, why didn't you tell me sooner?" She looked around nervously, then lowered her voice. "Don't say that so loudly. What if someone hears? Even if you are HIV positive, Amina, I still love you. You're still my daughter, no matter what." Amina felt tears well up in her eyes. "Mama, I'm so scared. I don't know what's happening inside my body. I don't know what the future holds for me." Her mother pulled her close, holding her tightly. "We will face this together, Amina. You're not alone. You will always have me by your side, no matter what. We will find a way to get you checked. But remember, whatever happens, you are still my child. I will never leave you." Unknown to both of them, Rafatu had just returned from Malik's house and was standing quietly near the corner, listening to every word, her face showing no emotion. Instead, she thought to herself, so Amina isn't so perfect after all. Mother is always praising her, acting like she's some saint who can do no wrong. And now look where her choices have landed her. As Amina and her mother continued talking, Rafatu crossed her arms, feeling a strange satisfaction in knowing her sister was struggling. She remembered how their mother always held Amina up as an example, urging Rafatu to be more like her older sister. She thought back to all the times she had been scolded or compared, and now she felt a hint of triumph. Maybe Amina isn't so special after all, she thought, so much for the holy sister. She watched as her mother held Amina, comforting her with soothing words. Rafatu almost rolled her eyes. In her mind, she felt no sympathy, only a cold detachment. Mother's favorite is just as flawed as anyone else. Maybe now she'll stop looking at me like I'm the bad one. With a quiet huff, Rafatu turned and walked away, not wanting to hear any more of their conversation. She had already heard enough to change how she saw her sister. The next day, Amina was drinking water in the kitchen when Rafatu walked in. Rafatu looked at the cup in Amina's hand and said, "Don't use that cup. It's my favorite. I don't want to catch HIV from you. I can't drink from the same cup as someone who is sick and might die soon." Amina froze, her heart racing. "What? How did you know?" Rafatu crossed her arms and said, "I overheard you and Mama talking the other day. I heard everything." Amina's eyes filled with tears. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "But I did everything for you, Rafatu. I gave up so much. I even hurt myself to save you, and now you're saying this to me." Rafatu rolled her eyes. "I never asked you to do any of that. I knew you were always spoiled and trying to be perfect. But Mama always praised you, acting like you were better than me. Look at you now." Amina couldn't stop the tears from falling. "I regret everything, Rafatu. I wish I had never done all those things just to save you." Rafatu looked away and said, "That's your problem. I didn't ask you to do all that." Amina sat down on a chair, feeling heartbroken. "I thought saving you was the right thing to do. But now, I see that you don't even care." Rafatu turned her back and walked away without a word. Amina felt like her heart had broken into pieces. She thought she was doing something good, but now it felt like it had all been in vain. She had sacrificed so much, and Rafatu didn't even appreciate it. Amina sat in the corner, wiping away her tears, when her mother walked in. She saw her daughter crying and immediately rushed to her side. "Amina, what's wrong? Why are you crying?" Amina looked up at her mother, her voice shaking. "Mama, Rafatu. She insulted me. She said terrible things to me. After everything I did for her, she treated me like this. She doesn't care about anything I've done." Her mother's face turned red with anger. "What? That girl? She has no heart. I can't believe she would do this to you after all you've been through for her." Her voice grew louder with each word. "She's useless, heartless. You are 100 times better than her, Amina. She should be ashamed." Amina could barely hold it together. "But Mama, I thought she was different. I thought she would understand." Her mother was furious now. She marched to Rafatu's room, her fists clenched in anger. "Rafatu, get in here." Rafatu, who had been sitting in her room, rolled her eyes and walked in slowly, acting like she didn't care. "What is it? Again you, this old woman." Her mother, shaking with rage, pointed her finger at Rafatu. "You're so ungrateful. After everything Amina did for you, everything. She sacrificed so much to save your life, and you repay her with insults. You're heartless, Rafatu. I regret ever giving birth to you. Rafatu's eyes flared with anger. Regret? You regret giving birth to me? Well, I regret being born into a life like this. She crossed her arms and looked at her mother with cold eyes. You should have married a wealthy man. Maybe if you had, we wouldn't be in this mess. Maybe I wouldn't have needed to start dating so young if you had made better choices. Her mother's face went pale with shock, but she didn't back down. You think it's my fault that you turned out like this? You are the one who made your choices, Rafatu. You're the one who decided to sleep with that boy, who decided to throw away your future. I have done my best for you. The two of them shouted at each other, insults flying back and forth like sharp arrows. You're a fool, Mama, Rafatu spat. You're the one who failed us. You always told me to be like Amina, but now look at you, crying over her like she's a saint. She's no better than anyone else. And you? You've done nothing but drag us into your failures. Amina watched from the doorway, feeling her heart break all over again. She couldn't believe how cold and bitter Rafatu had become. Rafatu grabbed her bag from the bed and slung it over her shoulder. I'm leaving. I'm going to Malik's house. At least he understands me. I don't need to listen to this anymore. Her mother's voice was full of disbelief. Rafatu, where are you going? You can't just leave like this. You need to face your mistakes. Rafatu didn't care. I don't have to stay here and listen to your nonsense anymore. With that, she stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her. Amina and her mother were left in silence, both feeling the weight of Rafatu's harsh words. Her mother sat down, her hands shaking. I don't know what to do with her anymore, Amina. I've tried everything, but she just won't listen. A week later, Amina received the heartbreaking news that Tiwa had passed away. Her heart shattered as she remembered all the good times they had shared and the way Tiwa had always been there for her, even when things seemed impossible. Now she was gone, and it felt like the world was crumbling around her. Amina cried non-stop. The tears wouldn't stop, and she felt an unbearable weight in her chest. Tiwa had been taken from her so suddenly, and she couldn't help but blame Chief Ibrahim for what had happened. He had caused so much pain in their lives, and now Tiwa was gone because of him. That night, Amina couldn't hold back the rage and grief anymore. She locked herself in her room and stripped off her clothes, standing in the darkness. Chief Ibrahim, she whispered through gritted teeth, you will die a painful death. You caused me and my friend so much pain. You took everything from us. You will pay for this. Her voice shook with anger, and the tears flowed even more freely. Why did it have to be like this? Why did you have to destroy everything? My sister, my friend. You ruined our lives. You will suffer for this. Amina stayed like that all through the night, crying, shaking and mourning the loss of Tiwa. She wished she could bring her friend back, that she could take away the pain and suffering. But all she had now was anger and grief, and she promised herself that she would not let Chief Ibrahim get away with what he had done. The next morning, Amina was still sitting alone, exhausted from the night's sorrow and anger. She heard loud footsteps coming closer and looked up to see Rafatu storming in, her face full of disgust. Without a word of sympathy or even kindness, Rafatu said loudly, "Your partner in crime is dead now, isn't she? Maybe you should follow her." Amina's heart sank. How could Rafatu be so heartless? She barely had time to process it before Rafatu continued, her voice filled with cruelty. I'm leaving this house. I don't want to stay here with you and your sickness. I don't want to catch anything from you. You and your foolish mother can stay here, alone in your poverty. Amina, still aching from her loss, felt another wave of pain hit her. She could hardly believe her sister's words. Rafatu, how can you say this, after everything? Rafatu cut her off, throwing her hands up in frustration. Don't even start with me, Amina. I didn't ask you to ruin your life for me. I don't care about your sacrifices. I never wanted them. She went to her room, throwing her belongings into a bag with loud thuds. Amina sat in shock as Rafatu packed her things, still too hurt to speak. She knew Rafatu was angry and stubborn, but she had never imagined her sister would leave them like this, especially after all she had endured just to save her. Before walking out, Rafatu turned back to look at Amina one last time. Her gaze was cold. You and Mama can stay here, wallowing in your misfortune. Good luck with your miserable lives." With that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Amina collapsed into tears. She felt like she had lost everything. Her sister, her friend, and now even the little bit of peace she had left in her heart. A month later, Chief Ibrahim was alone in his grand living room, playing with his pet snake. He had always enjoyed the power he felt, watching the snake coil and move as he controlled it. But on this day, something changed. Suddenly, without warning, the snake's eyes narrowed and it turned on him. In a flash it struck, sinking its fangs into him before wrapping itself around him tightly. Chief Ibrahim struggled, his hands flailing as he tried to pry the snake off, but the creature tightened its grip. His screams echoed through the house, and his bodyguards rushed in, shocked to see their powerful master helpless. They aimed their guns and fired, killing the snake. But it was too late. Chief Ibrahim lay still, lifeless. News of his death spread quickly through the town. People whispered about how the powerful chief, feared by all, had been taken down by the very creature he had once controlled. When Amina's mother heard the news, she gasped, hardly able to believe it. She looked up, tears of relief and gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you, Allah," she whispered. "The wicked shall not live unpunished." She felt a weight lift from her heart, knowing that justice had come in a way she could never have imagined. Chief Ibrahim's power, wealth and cruelty had brought him nothing in the end. With the little money she had managed to save, Amina's mother finally convinced her to go to the clinic for a health checkup. Amina had been so afraid, fearing what the tests might reveal, but her mother insisted, saying, "It's better to know, my child. Let's see what Allah has planned." At the clinic, Amina anxiously waited while the doctor reviewed her results. He returned with a smile, and her heart pounded as she waited for his words. "Amina," he said gently, "there's no sickness, no HIV. You are healthy." Amina was stunned, her hand covering her mouth in disbelief. Tears of relief and joy streamed down her cheeks as she left the clinic. She couldn't wait to share the news. When she got home, her mother saw the tears and feared the worst. But when Amina told her the truth, her mother embraced her tightly, sharing her joy. They held each other, their hearts lighter than they had been in a long time. For the first time, it felt like a new beginning was possible. A week later, however, their peace was broken. One of their neighbors came rushing to their door, looking distressed. "Amina, there's trouble. Your sister, she's been beaten badly by her boyfriend. Her boyfriend ran off, and she's in a terrible state at the hospital." Despite everything that had happened, despite all the pain and hurtful words, Amina's heart filled with worry. She didn't even stop to think. She rushed to the hospital, her only thought being to see Rafatu and make sure she was safe. When Amina reached the hospital, she saw the doctor's expression even before he spoke. He took a deep breath, his voice soft but heavy. "I'm so sorry, Amina. Your sister had severe internal injuries. We did everything we could, but she didn't make it." Amina felt her heart shatter. A deep, painful ache filled her as she thought of Rafatu. All the mistakes, the harsh words, and the broken bond between them. She left the hospital slowly, feeling the weight of sorrow as she made her way home. When she shared the news with her mother listened quietly. But instead of tears, her mother's face was set and cold. "That serves her right," she said flatly. "After all she put us through, she chose her path." Amina looked at her mother, shocked by her words. She felt an even deeper sadness, but she didn't respond. She knew her mother's heart had been wounded by everything they'd been through. One day, as Amina and her mother were quietly resting in the corner of the uncompleted building, they noticed a well-dressed man walking through the structure, inspecting the place with a thoughtful look on his face. He was Mr. Adderwale, the owner of the building, a wealthy man who had recently returned from overseas after many years away. Noticing Amina and her mother in the corner, he walked over and asked, "How did you come to live here?" Amina, with humility and honesty, explained their struggles, from her sister's illness to the challenges they had faced after losing their home. Mr. Adderwale listened carefully, and as he heard their story, his heart softened. He saw the strength and resilience in Amina and her mother, despite everything they have gone through. After a thoughtful pause, he looked at them and said, "You don't deserve to be struggling like this. I'd like to help you both." Mr. Adewale then offered them a place to stay in one of his homes, a small, cozy house where they could live without worry. Amina and her mother were stunned. They thanked him over and over, their hearts filled with relief and gratitude. Over the following weeks, Mr. Adewale visited often to check on them. He admired Amina's spirit and determination to make a better life, even through hardship. One day he asked her, "Amina, if you could study or build a career, what would you want to do?" Amina's eyes lit up as she shyly shared her dream of going back to school, of gaining an education, and maybe one day helping others like herself. Mr. Adewale smiled warmly and said, "Then let's make that happen." True to his word, Mr. Adewale enrolled Amina in school and covered all her expenses. Amina threw herself into her studies, working harder than she ever had, with the memory of her struggles pushing her to succeed. Her mother, seeing her daughter thrive, felt a happiness she hadn't experienced in years. Years passed and Amina graduated with excellent grades. Inspired by her journey, she decided to use her life to advocate for children who had no voice, children who had suffered hardship and abuse. She established her own organization dedicated to protecting and uplifting young lives. Amina's story became a beacon of hope in her community. Her strength, shaped by her trials, now inspired countless others, showing them that even the darkest times could lead to a future full of light and purpose. And through it all, she and her mother shared a bond strengthened by everything they had overcome together. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.